So good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time, for attending to this training. I hope you learn a lot and enjoy it as well. So William Vargas, I'm a Colombian living in Canada since 2004. I'm a project management professional working in the IT field, working as a consultant, doing mainly software implementation and process improvement projects. Currently, I'm working for a large Canadian gold company as a project manager. I'm interested and involved in career, professional, and executive coaching and mentoring. So, for example, with Hispanotech, that I've been connected since 2015, I've been participating as a mentor in different 3 or 4 mentorship programs. I use Excel on a regular basis, not only for project management to do some presentations, but also for some data analysis. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and then we are gonna start with our presentation on pivot tables. Perfect, excellent. So here we go with pivot tables. So the main content that we are gonna try to cover today is first to learn a bit about the concepts and what a pivot table is, what they are used for, and some applications. Second, we are gonna enter directly in the matter how to create a pivot table from scratch. And then we're gonna start with the basics, and then we're gonna start to progress to adding more complexity or more features to those pivot tables. And then we are gonna start to make changes to the pivot tables, and we are gonna do a little example with the use of slicers. So let's start with the first part with basic concept, what a pivot table is. Just a little information on trivia. The origin of pivot table with is Excel, but in reality it was created in 1986 by Pito Salas. This is a guy who worked for Lotus Corporation, one of the first spreadsheets, and then Excel incorporated in 1993. So the pivot table is basically a feature that allows data tables to be reorganized in different ways. So they can provide like different views to the same information. That is why it's called pivot. So it allows to rotate the information from one point to another. One important point is that there are no changes to the data source, and the pivot table is used to group, summarize, sort, reorganize data stored in a table. And it's very useful to do like quick data analysis. The table arranges information in a simple, meaningful layout that try to take the attention to the key values of summarizing information. So here we can see a basic example of a table that is similar to what a pivot table is, even though it has like different features. So we have to do 4 things before starting to work with the pivot tables, and is to organize the data. So 4 things, the data should be organized in a row-oriented style instead of a column-oriented style. So this is what we call row-oriented here. All the information is in rows. So here, for example, you have these 3 columns defined as fields, but it's better to have these items organized in this way to facilitate the use of the pivot tables. The second part is to remove any pre-aggregated data. Sometimes you have reports that they have totals as part of them, so we need to remove all those things, right? To clean the data. The other part is to ensure that all the headers are in a single row. In this case, for example, this refers to Toronto, that covers all these people here. So instead of leaving this header here, what we're gonna do is create a total here, and sorry, a column here, and we are gonna assign it to all of them. Also, don't forget to put titles to all your fields, right? In this case, Mark. And the last part, the last point is to ensure that you remove any blanks as part of your data. And also, if you have blanks, because some people try to summarize the information, just duplicate the values where needed, right? Like this. Perfect. So these are the basic points for a pivot table. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do an exercise. I think with the knowledge that you have currently, we can work on that. So I want to show you what is the benefit of using a pivot table first. So if you go to exercise number 1, so we have all the data here, data source. We have a group of sales. We have date, salesperson, team, sales team, the amount of sales, region, and country. There are 53 records in this data. That's the data we're going to use for the whole course. So the exercise I'd like you guys to help me is to calculate these values here, the total sales for these 3 countries for these 2 teams. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to try to figure out how to calculate it based on the information that you have now and the knowledge that you have. And then we'll do it together very, very shortly. So guys, 1 minute. There are a couple of tips here in how you could do it, just to kind of try to get the data. You can just calculate it or summarize it and just write it directly here, right? To see who. Someone is asking where do they get the file. I think the file was shared with all the teams.
We will send it again.
Okay.
Yeah, let me share the link again. Just give me one second.
So remember to use these 2 tips here. Maybe you can use filters, or maybe you can use just the function that Andres shared with you guys, some ifs to calculate this. So you can see the effort that this could take. So I'm gonna start to do it maybe in my way, just to do it like very like quickly. So I like to use filters. So everybody does it differently. So I'm gonna just filter this information here, and then they're asking me for Japan, team 2 and team 3. So I'm gonna filter the country Japan here. How to use filters, Japan, and then Japan team 2 is 43. Here we copy this one here. Team 3, 54. Or you can use a formula too, right? So how are you guys doing with the numbers? Can someone share the value for Canada and team 2?
Working on that.
Okay, perfect. So I know it takes some time. So I think the good thing is that hopefully a pivot table will help us to save some time later. Okay, so I have a little cheat sheet around here. So for the ones who are working on the values, hopefully you guys got this information here. So you want to finish the exercise and then compare your values against these values here. For example, we see Canada for team 2, again Canada here. Team 2, so 68. Team 3, 70,000. So So team 3 is more than 1 here, so I have to add this one. This one, the zoom is 7187, so that's correct. I have it here. For Spain, we don't have anything here, and we have for team 3. Okay, so lots of work, and this is only for 3 countries and 2 teams. You can imagine if we have like 100 countries and 20 teams do the same calculation. Okay, perfect. Filter on team. There's a question, then a second filter on teams. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna start then with the pivot table. We're gonna create the pivot table. Hopefully you guys managed to find these values here. So I'm gonna go to the next tab here. And I'm gonna start to create one pivot table from scratch. So the first thing is how do I create a pivot table? So there is a button here. You go to insert and you will see pivot table. It's as simple as that. So we're gonna review. When you click on insert, it's asking you to enter the table or the range. It's up to you if you want to rename the range or to use the actual go and select the range for the table. In this case, I can go here to data source, and I'm gonna, sorry, filter, there's a moment here, that is, filter this. So pivot table, I'm gonna go to select my data, and I'm gonna select this. It's important that you select the headers because those are the fields that will be part of the pivot table. And then I go down here and select my table. And as you can see, it showed me a name that I had done previously, so that could be useful as well. And then we are going to create that pivot table in the same place where I start the exercise. So here we are. So at this point, the system will display like a workspace here, and also a window that will show us different components, fields here, and the layout. So let me explain you what is in this section here. There are some questions so far?
No, you can continue.
Okay, perfect. So this part here on the top of this window, that sometimes you will find this window here, like attached to the Excel. I like to remove it here so it's easier for me to see all the components. Then I see all the headers of my information here. So if I go to data source, all the headers that I had here became fields. We have 4 areas here for work. Here is where I will have my calculations. Here is we have columns. So just to remember that we have an example here, on a pivot table, something like this. This is like a basic pivot table. So we call these columns, the rows, and the calculated values. So we have those here the same. We have columns, values, rows, and this is filters that will be showing you later what's the use of those. Okay, perfect. So now we have our workspace, our layout. So the first thing to do is we are gonna select a value. So you can start whatever you want. You can start with adding a row first, a column first, or a value first. I personally like to start with the value just to kind of give an idea of the totals for all the information that I have there. So for example, here you see that it disappeared, the box that we have initially. When you click on the space, it will show you back the information. Okay, so we're gonna go here, we're gonna add sales amount. So you can do it in two ways. You can click this space, or you can drag and drop the field to the different boxes that you have here. I like more the drag and drop. It's easy. So you go to, for example, sales amount, and then you select, and then you move it to values here. And then you will see your first field here, the total amount. So this value, technically, it should be the sum of all the sales amounts. If I go to the data source and I select all the sales here, I'm gonna use this Control-Shift+ arrow to select only my data. I get here this value, 2,061,000. That is what I have here. Maybe you can put some numbers, some formatting to the typical table if you want. I'm gonna leave it for now like this. So we have the total. Okay, now we are gonna add a row. I would like to see all the sales per country. So we have one field that is country. So we are gonna drag and drop it in the rows. So when I move it here, I drag and drop country and move it to rows. And then it will display all the sales for each country. Very easy, so we don't have to do all the calculation that we use with filters, but automatically it created here. Let's put some formatting here. Any questions so far?
No, go ahead, please.
Perfect. All right, so now we are going to add columns. So here it will become a little bit messy, but so I'm gonna use, the field, in this case, the column team, sales team. So I go to my fields, I select team, and I drag and drop it in columns here. And then you will see that we have now this table. It shows me per each country and per team all the information, right? So, for example, if we go to see Canada Team 2, 68,857, and I go to the exercise, so we have the same value. We have Team 3, then go to Team 3, I have the value already calculated here. So it's a very easy and very fast way to obtain different calculations, and then you have it for all the columns. So if you have 15,000 records, so this will make your life much easier. So this is basically the pivot table that we have here, right? That is a basic one. So we have automatically Excel add some totals here for all the rows, and then it will add also totals for all the columns here in this part. Okay, let's put some formatting. Okay, perfect. So that's our first pivot table. So what I would like to show you now is another way to group information using pivot tables. So in this case, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove things from here. I'm gonna get only sales, but I would like to see also the regions for each of these countries. So I'm gonna move the column, the field region, I'm gonna move it to country, to rows, sorry. So when I do this, you see that automatically he creates some subgroups, right? Africa, we have Asia, and the countries assigned to each one. and the totals assigned to that one. So this is a different way to show the information. You could do, probably you could have said, no, I wanted more like a columns. So it will show you a variation of the information. But this is another way to present the information. So this is called nesting, right? You have all the information here. You can close and collapse all these items here. So just click here and collapse. And you can go right click button, collapse the entire fields, and then you will have a summary here. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, are you guys following the exercise and based on the previous exercise that you did?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this way we have our first pivot table, very easy, and then you can play around with different combinations. I don't want it anymore by region, by country, or anything. So I can click here to remove them, right? And maybe I want them per sales, per person. So I'm gonna move the sales amount here again, and I take the field sales and I move it here. So different combinations. I don't want it by sales. I want it probably by only by region. Then you have it by region, or you want it by region and you want it by sales team. So you have it here, and you can have more than one, and you can do that also in the columns. You can have more than one column. What happens is that columns are like less convenient, but it works too. So I can have it here in columns, but you will see that the collapse is very different, right? Perfect. So we're gonna do now different calculation, because I'm gonna use regions here. I'm gonna use, we cannot calculate only the sum of data. We can do different things. So to check the options that we have, and we're gonna click here, or we can even click right button here too, to go to value field settings, or you can find it in the layout. When you click here, value field settings, and value field settings will show you a set of options. So you can calculate, you can count the number of sales. Instead of, so you click here, then it will show me how many sales were done in Africa and in Egypt. Maybe you want to find the average of sales, or the sales, the maximum sales on each region. So when you click here, and it will show me what was that. And well, you can use any of the options that you have here. You can play around with this. You have the minimum, you have, and also some stats here, right? Variation and standard deviation that you can use later. Perfect. So in that way, you can use sum. So now, one more thing. You say, okay, I can have more than one row, more than one column, but I can have more than one value as well. So maybe someone say, okay, this is the total of sales per each country. I would like to see the percentage for each region. Okay, perfect. So what we can do is use the field sales, or you can have like different fields to calculate, and then you drag and drop it here, and it will create a second column here. So this one we can call it just sales. And this one I'm gonna call it percentage of sales. So now, but I need to change it now. So when I go to the second field I add, I click on value field settings, and then I choose, I go to show value as. So you see that in this window here, I can select what I'm counting in general, the summarizing. But in the second tab here, show value as, I'm gonna tell them to calculate the percentage based on the grand total. The grand total, by the way, is this one here, right? The first one that we calculate. I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna choose show values as grand total. Click here, and I'll save it here, and there you go. Very quickly. And then you say, oh, but I want to see now by region. I want to see it by team. Okay, no problem. So we're gonna move team here, and it will calculate it. And if you open this one, it will show you by each group as well. Or you just want it by team, you remove your region, and then you have it by team. Very simple and very fast. So this is very, very good to do. So I think that those are the main components of the pivot table. So remember the rows, the values, the column. You can have more than one in each. So here you will find other types of groups of information. So if I want to, for example, one that is very common in accounting, I'm gonna call this accumulated instead of percentage. I need to change it. So I can go here, click on the field, go to value field settings, and I'm gonna show values as, instead of percentage, you have an option to do a running total. Running total is equivalent to accumulate. That's it has a different name, but so when I click here, I select this one, click here, and then, oh, sorry, what happened here?
Sorry, William, 5 more minutes for the first part.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Let me just remove this sales amount. I'm gonna in settings, show value as running total. Running total based on the sales. That was the mistake I made. So running total based on the sales amount I have here. When I click here, then just give me 1 minute. 2, 4, 3, 4. It's not. Just bear with me, please. Sum. Running total. Running total. This is by team. Okay, there you go. So the mistake was here. So I want to group by team, which is the field I have here, right? That's to be careful with. Okay, so here we have so this first value here, and the addition of these two is 873, and the third one 1,032,000, and then it keeps accumulating. You can do the same with percentage as well, right? And let me well, obviously, because that running total was based on this field, then if I change, for example, for region, then so it generates a mistake here. So what I have to do is then go back, click here, value field settings, show values as running total, but not for team, but for region. and click here, and then I will have it again. Is that clear? Perfect. So I think that will cover the basics of a pivot table. How to add rows, more than one row, how to create columns, more than one column, how to add values, different types of values, sums, averages, and how to calculate, do other calculations based on those values as well. And remember that we can also nest information, right? So for example, here, I'm gonna remove this for now. And I'm gonna put country here. So nesting information, that's very important too. Okay, so we're gonna do now an exercise together. I'm gonna give you around 1 minute to kind of try to create something. So you go to exercise number 2. I put you the instructions here on how to, very basic things. You can go till add row and add column. So I'm gonna give you 1 minute for you to try to create a pivot table based on what I just explained. Remember to insert the pivot table, you go to insert, and you have the button pivot table. I
Please.
Initially put here the data source. You can use name Hisp. So when you create the table here, just write HISP, and that will make your life easier as well. We're gonna create a pivot table here in 4 minutes. Okay, so at this moment, I'm asking you to add the total of sales. So remember, let's go on sales amount, this filter you have here, and then you drag and drop it. Remember, move it here, and where do you move it? To values. Starting from scratch. Next is to add a row. You add region. So you go to show the layout again. You click on the pivot table, and it will display all your fields again. So let's add region to the rows here. Okay, perfect. And then we are going to add a column. We want the regions by by team, sales team. Okay, so we are going to add, sales team. Yeah, sales team columns. So you should have something like this. Maybe you just want to make it look like a little bit better, just a quick formatting, just a standard formatting here with no zeros, and then expand the columns a little bit. At this point, you should have something like this. Okay, we're gonna do something, we're gonna remove the column. We're gonna add a second row. So to remove columns, remember you can or drag and drop, or you can just uncheck the field. So you click here, team. And we're gonna add a second row by team. So instead of a column, we are gonna have it as a row. So we drag and drop and move it here. So they should have something like this. Perfect. We're going to add a value here. So we're going to add the sales amount here. And we are going to convert it to percentage. So we're going to say show values as calculation of percentage of the grand total. So you click here. Perfect. We're going to skip this one here. So what are the percentage of sales for Europe? So the answer is one here. Perfect. So I think that's pretty much the exercise, just to have some practice. So now we're going to go with the third part of the training, is to how to modify the pivots tables. What kind of things we can do with them. Before any questions on the exercise before? Okay, I don't know if that's good or not, but
You're very clear, William. Thank you.
okay, perfect. So we are gonna start to make changes to the pivot tables. Different changes. We are gonna, well, we already add new columns, right? We add new, we're gonna see the grouping information of different types of data. We are gonna add a new calculation, which we kind of did it, so we are ahead of the curve with this part. But mainly we are gonna sort information as well. We are gonna show something that's called the details. If I want to extract part of the data of a specific summary, I want the system to show me, Excel to show me what records make up of that total. So I will show you that too. So let's start. Let's go to change pivot table. So for this one, I'm gonna just create one quick pivot table. So now that we know how to create it, we go to insert, we go to pivot table, and then I'm gonna put his here. Okay, I'm gonna create the region, row region. So I'm gonna move region here. Total sales. And I'm gonna have my column, I'm gonna have date. Just wanted to show you something with a specific type of data. So we have date here, that is what we have here, when the transaction was executed. We are gonna move date to columns. That's for now. And then you will see that Excel automatically will group the information. That's something that is natural in Excel. And you will see that there are two new fields, quarters and years, right? So when I go here, okay, it's good that it shows me the information per year, which is what I wanted initially. And then if I click here, it shows me by quarters. And if I open this, it will show me by months as well. So I can remove this one. I don't want to see the quarters, then I can click here and remove it. And then I have it per month. So I have 2012, January, February, and May. I have 2013 every month. And so on with each of the years, right? So this is an interesting way as Excel can group information. So that's what that was part of what I wanted to explain with this exercise here. So we can use different types of data, right? So we already nest information So we're going to work a little bit now more with the sorting, how we organize information. So for that purpose, I'm going to remove date for now here. And I'm going to sort these totals here for this region. So I want to show, if I click right button here, so I click on any of these fields, it doesn't matter because it's selecting the field region. If I right click button, you have sort as the same that you use with filters in the standard filter way here. For example, when I click here, it shows me sort as well, right? So in pivot tables, it applies the same concept. So when I right click here, I'm gonna say sort, and I want to sort from the largest to the smallest. So very quickly, I have this here. So this sorting is you can apply to any type of data as well, right? Now, see, so this is sorting of values. Now, I could sort by rows as well if I wanted. So instead of having, if I have teams here in the columns, for example, I'm gonna sort. I'm gonna right-click button on the row and sort from. So this is in alphabetical order if I want, right? Same thing that if I do it here, I can sort this data alphabetically, right? Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin, North America. Or based on the total. So sort the smallest to the largest to smallest. So I sort the column. Or I have the option to sort. I think I have more options here. And it will show me other options. I'm going to tell them instead of top to bottom, I'm going to do it from left to right. So in this case, instead of sorting here on this row, we are going to do it based on this one here, right? So basically, it's going to sort this based on these totals that you have here. You click here. Smallest, the largest to smallest. There you go. So here is the largest one, team 5. Then to the smallest is the team 2. So these are all ways to do the sorting of information. You can do it by rows. You can do it by columns as well. Now, if you had nesting, then you could, for example, organize the subgroups. Let me just give you an example. Instead of having the teams as columns, I'm gonna nest it as part of the rows here. So I just move this team, just move it here, right? And then it will provide me, if I click on this total, this is the subtotal for the region, right? If I sort it here, let's say from the smallest to the largest. Okay, here we go. This one, they don't change, but I can filter them too. So I'm gonna sort the subgroup internally. I'm gonna sort it We're gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna sort it from largest to smallest, right? Yeah. So here we have, or you can sort it from the smallest to largest. And it changes only the subgroup. It keeps the sorting that I have here. If I change this again, sort from largest to smallest, it changed this one here, but it still keeps the values in the order that I find for the subgroup. Any questions so far?
No, William, we have 15 more minutes for the next 5 more minutes for the next part question.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Okay. So that's sorting. So now I'm gonna show you one part of the layout that we have not seen yet, and it's how to filters, right? Oh, I have someone asking about the filters. That's the next point. Perfect. So let's just keep one just for the example. I'm gonna keep again my totals. I'm gonna add filter. So basically when I add a filter here, it will show me a filter here that I can use to change the information. For example, I go here, I'm gonna select a filter by, let's say by team. So I go filter. And then you will see that as soon as I add the filter here, it shows me this field here. So I can filter information here. So I want to see the totals for all the regions only for team 1. So I can select 1 and it change the calculation right away. And usually what we are used to with filters, because it uses the same concept of filters in normal data. For example, here that we use the filters, when you click here, you will see these filters as well, right? That we are more familiar with those. Here, it works very similar. So there are 2 ways to do it. So one way is to add a filter here, probably for a user that wants to make the changes here and they don't want to deal with the pivot table. And now, if I want to select multiple, so this is more similar to what I showed you before. I want to see team 1, team 2, and team 3. So here it will start to make the calculations. So that's the idea with filters. It's very simple. It's a simple functionality, but it's very, very powerful because it allows us to use the functionality that Excel already has. Now, there are other ways to do filters. Maybe I can use teams here. You can have more than one filter as well. You can filter also by country here. Then it shows you another filter here. And then you can choose, for example, Brazil only. And at that point, it will show me only Latin America, right? For those teams, or I want to see all the teams. And in this case, there are not like many. Just choose the countries as well. Yeah, here, remember, you want to select multiple. You will have more regions here. So this is the functionality for filters as part of the layout. But you can do filters different ways without using these filters here, and probably they will give you like more flexibility. And is I'm gonna remove these filters from here. But I could probably filter the information here. When I go to filter, then I can filter by, give me other options to filter, right? So for example, which salespeople make sales in Europe, right? So I need for this, I need the people's sales here, the representative. I'm gonna put it here. So nested. And well, obviously I have it here. I don't need a filter, but if I want to show only Europe, for example, then I will right click here, filter. I'm gonna say keep only the selected item. And it will show me only Europe here, right? Nothing else. It's a very easy way to do it. Also, you can clean the filter from here, the same functionality than the other one. You can filter by, for example, in this case, I have a little example, the top 5 region sales. So I'm gonna show here, sort, more options, and then you have, sorry, here, sort more options. Yes, sort options, this is for data. So, okay, so let's say I want to see the top regions, the top 5 in a region. So I'm going to filter. I'm going to use the top 10, but it gives you the option to choose which ones you want. So it's, you're going to say the top 5 items based on sales, right? I'm going to click here, and then it will show you the top 5 in each region. So well, Africa has 5 here, Asia has 5, and Latin has 5. Same thing, right? That's another way to filters. But you could, for example, if I want to know the regions that have sales larger than, I don't know, $70,000. So I'm gonna go here, gonna remove the filter, so it's here.
Hi, William. We are on time, and we have 15 more minutes to cover the last part.
Oh, okay, perfect. It's 2 minutes here. So let me just very quickly, before going to the exercise, show you how to do these sales. This is just filter. Based on values, and they're gonna say some sales is larger, greater than 70,000. Say it here, and then here we have all the sales larger than that. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is an exercise. We're gonna move to exercise 3, and then see if you guys can create these questions here with a pivot table. So show the top 5 salespeople sorted by sales. The pivot table, so I'm gonna give you 1 minute. Well, remember, you can create like a very simple pivot table here, pivot table. Remember to use the IHP range name, and then you want to see salespeople. So salesperson here in the rows, and then you want to see the team, sales amount, and then you want to see a top 5. That's for the top 5, right button, filter, top 10, and then you choose here top 5. Items based on this sales, total sales. Click. So you should get something like this as part of your exercise. Okay. I hope everybody managed to do this. And now, one thing I wanted to
Sorry,
explain.
William. Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. It's just that I'm trying to follow in all the steps. That when I click on the right thing, it doesn't show filter. Where do I need to put the place?
Here, oh, okay. You click on the data and any of the data that you have here, right button, and then you say filter.
Okay.
In any of them, you choose the last one, right click button,
Perfect.
filter, and then you choose the options here, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Now, one quick thing is we are going to provide a list of the transactions. I want to see all the transactions for John Brown. So you will see that, yes, of this value here, for example. Let me just put these dollars. I want to see all the transactions that are component for John Brown. So I go here, and then there is this option, right click button on this, right click button, and then you say show details. Show details. This is gonna create a new worksheet, and then you will see the records that are making this calculation here, right? This 170,000, so that's what you have here. I'm sorry, this is exercise 3. This one here, right? So this is, it creates a new sheet. So you have the details of those values. This is a very interesting functionality if you want to know the details of any of the totals that you have at any moment. So I think that's where we can leave this. And maybe one last thing I would like to show you is you go here to the menu Analyze. Every time you're working with pivot tables, you can go here to Analyze, and you will see that there is a field here called Move Pivot Table, right? Sometimes this one is overlapping this, or something as simple as moving the pivot table. It's not like I grab this pivot table and I just move it here. Okay, that's a way to do it. Or you can just use this move the pivot table here, and then you can move it to another spreadsheet if you want. Any questions so far? Okay, perfect. So we're gonna do the last part. Is sorry, the slicers. So these are very slicers. You can use it wherever you have data in Excel. So I think you can have here. You can add a slicer probably sometimes. Slicer, no, not this one. Okay. So I'm gonna create a quick pivot table here. insert pivot table. I use his. I'm gonna do like a sort of like a Pareto analysis, the 80-20 Pareto analysis to find what's the 80% of the totals in certain information by salespeople. So I'm gonna select salespeople here, sales amount, salespeople. And then one thing that I need to do first is to sort the information by sales. So I'm gonna sort. So here we're using pretty much everything. We're gonna sort, you click on sales here. We're gonna sort from largest to smallest. Okay, perfect. Now we have the information here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a column with a running total, but in percentage, right? So I'm gonna add sales amount to my values here. Sales amount, I drag and drop, move it here, sales amount. And I'm gonna change the value. So I click here, it says value field settings. We are gonna change this, we're gonna click here, percentage, accumulated percentage. And I'm gonna show the values as running percentage here. Percentage running total, which is like accumulated, right? Based on salesperson. Here. So I have here all the percentage. And then just to see the accumulated 80%, it goes here. So I could, with some confidence, I could say that all this group of people here make up the 80% of the sales for the company. Very simple use. This is not like a 20 perfect Pareto exercise, but I think the idea is how to find information very quickly, or what is the, I don't know, you can see that 50% of the sales are done by these guys here, right? You have the accumulated here.
Hi, William, we are over time. 5 more minutes, please.
Okay, okay, perfect. So let's just go here very quickly, and then I'm gonna do the slicers here. So we go to analyze, or in team in the field, and we add a slicer. So very quickly, go here for a slicer for example, for region, add a slicer, and then it will create like a table like this that allows me to filter the information. So I select only Africa. So it filters all the sales in Africa or Asia or Europe, or with control, I can choose more than one. And you can have as many slicers as you want. You want a slicer as well, I don't know, by this region. You want to do it by team, for example. So add a slicer, and you have all the teams here, and you can combine both slicers. So team 1, it recalculates. Team 3, it recalculates. So you see how they function. And you can select them all. So that's the application. Very simple, using pivot tables and slicers. So I hope you guys learn a little bit on how to create a basic pivot tables, and will allow you to continue playing around with it and all the functionalities and features that are available. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, William, for an amazing presentation. Pivot tables are a very powerful tool that help us to be more effective, definitely. Thank you for all of the tips and knowledge you have shared with us.
Perfect.
Yeah.